Hello, and welcome to Black History Month 2022. My name is Jeff Carter, President of the Bergen County NAACP. In this auspicious month of February, we honor our legacy, our past, and our present. Black history is being made as we speak. Black history was made a few years ago and over 100 to 400 years ago. It's important that we realize the contributions that African Americans have made in this country, in the state of New Jersey, and definitely in Bergen County. We have rich history that always should be and needs to be explored. I bring greetings to Bergen County. Hope that you all have a beautiful and successful Black History Month and Black History program. God bless you, Godspeed, and have a great Black History Month.
Hello, everyone. I'm Greg Jackson. Thank you for allowing me an opportunity to share a few words with you related to African American History Month. This morning in my devotional, I was reading about the story of Moses and how God was speaking to Moses and saying, "I'm the God of Abraham, Isaac, and of Jacob." And throughout the Bible, you hear God continuing to remind people that He is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So today, I just want to thank you for reminding all of us that He's the God of Martin and Malcolm and Fannie Lou Hamer and Mary McLeod Bethune and so many others, and your parents and my parents. And so that we sow that and we write that not just in textbooks, but we write it in the hearts of our sons and daughters and grandchildren. Thank you so much for taking the time to help us to remember where we come from. God bless you.
I'd like to thank the Black History Month Committee for inviting me to speak about Black health and wellness here in Bergen County. I want to start off by telling a little bit about myself. I have a private practice, but I'm most proud of being the CEO and one of the founding members of our organization, the Consortium of Mental Health and Educational Professionals of Color of New Jersey. One of our goals was to compile a directory for African Americans to have a resource to get help with mental health professionals across the disciplines. We have LPs, LPCs, LCSWs, LCADCs, and psychiatrists. And we also have a cadre of educational professionals who can help negotiate the system for our children. We've been in existence about 3 years now and have done a host of presentations on mental health and educational issues, as well as social justice in our community. But today I wanted to briefly talk about 3 things I think it's important in terms of talking about Black health and wellness. So the 3 things are: don't buy into the stigmas, don't diagnose but do advocate, and check out your own mental nutrition. What I mean by don't buy into stigmas, the first thing is that there are a lot of racial and mental health stigmas that can deter people from seeking help. And those stigmas are used to view you or someone else in a negative way. We attribute negative qualities to that person, and that becomes a way that the person gets defined. So we're fighting that. I know in Bergen County, we're fighting stigmas, and almost every one of the 72 municipalities have taken up a program about stigmas. But I think it's very important to remember the racial stigmas that have negative connotations about African Americans. So I'm particularly concerned about that. And one of those stigmas that we have in our community is about religious beliefs being counter to getting mental health. And I think we have worked a little bit harder to try to reduce the effect. We can have our religion and still seek mental health. But sometimes it's considered a block for people to get the help that they need. One of the issues with stigmas is families do not want to reveal histories in the family of mental health. So that prevents a person seeking out the help that they would ordinarily get. But family histories help therapists provide a clearer picture of what a client may be presenting, and also to provide the appropriate treatment. There are families who have genetic components to anxiety and sometimes depression. So if the therapist knows this, the therapist can treat the individual accordingly and certainly do therapy to help the person realize that they can overcome things that may appear to be unexplainable. So family histories help explain the unexplainable sometimes. The second issue is don't diagnose, but do advocate. One thing that is very important is there's so much information about mental health on the internet and so readily available that people do self-diagnosis. And what that does is it prevents the client going to the therapist to have a clean slate. They go in and they begin to believe the things that they've read. Sometimes we call this a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the therapist has to help the client overcome these ideas that they believe that they possess or behaviors that they possess versus having an open dialogue with the therapist about what's going on in their lives. Be prepared to ask questions. I do think that's the advocate part. Be prepared to know something about what's happening to you. That's important. But also be prepared to ask the therapist about their credentials. Are they culturally sensitive? That is really very important, and one of the issues that's come up across all the disciplines in mental health, that therapists need to be culturally sensitive. The other part in terms of advocating for yourself is ask your insurance companies if they have good representation and current providers of color in their directories so that you can get the appropriate help. That is usually a big issue and often deters people seeking help if they believe they can't find a therapist that may have some cultural sensitivity. So that's become a big issue over the last 2 years in particular. The last thing I want to mention is check your mental nutrition. How much hours are you spending on technical devices versus interacting with people? Research says that more and more people are moving away from healthy interactions with people. Some of it's been impacted by COVID, but a great deal more people are using it as a reason not to develop those social skills that are needed, that we continue to need as human beings. We're meant to interact with each other. This can have an impact constantly on technical devices, affecting your overall mental and physical health. Are you reading soothing articles and connecting with supportive communities of interest that you can develop new interests around? Once you start, it is very important to continue to develop as we move up in age and as we experience these new things. Once again, our mental health is connected to our physical health. I don't know of one program that deals with good physical nutrition that doesn't ask for you to track down what you're eating. We need to write it down. We need to keep a record. And so it is the same thing with our mental health. How often are you keeping track of what you read and what you absorb from the media that affects your thinking and therefore your behavior and your interactions with others? So we need to keep a check on those things. Write a diary, write down your thoughts, your feelings, and your emotions. It is very healthy in terms of helping your mind and your brain to reconnoiter, rethink things, and process. When we feed ourselves the same old thoughts about past behaviors, it leads to physical behaviors that affect us: eating poorly, sleeping poorly, not taking our appropriate medication. So it is very important to be mentally healthy that you also address our physical health. One of the things that came up in terms of COVID was the correlation of people who were more likely to have severe effects of COVID with those who had high blood pressure, obesity, overweight. And those were highly correlated with African American people. So we need to take the bull by the horns and start taking care of ourselves so that we can reduce the impact on many areas of our life, particularly our mental health. So I hope the takeaway today is that when you decide to do something differently, you're well on your way to making a difference in your life. And we have to take control over the things that we can and feel empowered by it. Thank you for letting me share my thoughts, and I thank the Black History Month Committee for focusing on Black health and wellness in Bergen County.